Hey everyone, my name is Yash, and I'm the founder and CEO of Hero Trainer. Um, we're building a health ecosystem for gamers. That means we provide content, uh, advice, and um, have a community of gamers who are interested in getting healthy. Speaking of health, I'm a little under the weather right now. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, but I wanted to share where we are this week. Wednesdays is generally when we put out new content. Our blog post this week is going to be about uh, sleep, which is very exciting. So, as far as what you'll learn about and how to improve your life. But also today we'll be talking about the combat system that everyone is very interested about. And again, this is just my take on it. I am not a formal game designer by any means. These are things I've picked up along the way, and always looking to get feedback from the community. Our community is really phenomenal, very talented. A lot of the progression we've made is thanks to this very uh, exciting, um, very intelligent community. I'm sorry, words are not my friend today, which is great because you're here to learn about something that is a very complex topic when I don't have a good grasp on my words right now. So, anyways, let's just get this started. I'm going to try to keep this short so I can take a nap. Um, so, here we go. All right, so good to know that I am still recording on the bottom there. I am going to zoom in so I can tell you exactly what, let's hide that so you get a better view. All right, so last time, uh, brief overview on what we're building. So not only do we make content, we make games. Everflame is this game. If this is your first time joining, it is uh, an all-in-one health roguelike game that combines a bunch of different inspirations, but it combines physical, mental, and emotional health and sleep and diet into this very dynamic, changing game. So when you select a dungeon to go into, um, and this is what we're going to be adding. So you get to choose the area you'd like to go into, followed by your loadout. So previously, right now, you didn't have any control over the skills you had, at least in the demo that we have today. It doesn't look anything like this, but I was very much inspired by Guild Wars 2 here in a sense. That when you choose a weapon, it comes with predefined skills. So the top row over here is your default section. When you say you choose a sword as an example, it comes, or with a shield, maybe sword and shield, it comes with a default, um, these basic skills attached to it. Um, and then you can choose three other skills as well that will also be in your rotation when you are in combat. And for me, one of the biggest important things is readability. So right now, this is even for me is still too small of text. But my big thing here is someone should be able to look at this and read exactly what they're getting into this, and that's a big part of this. I don't want this to be another mobile game where you're squinting and trying to zoom in, like really looking at the tiny font to see what everything's doing or getting overwhelmed by these tiny details. I want this to be simple, and simple to play, but difficult to master. That is the core philosophy, as we sort of talked about in our previous video. So what I have here is Aura, and I'll get a quick breakdown into those as far as the flow. But what we have here is the cost per using that. So, for example, when you start a dungeon, maybe you run into an enemy, right? Um, and down here, um, you'll have you have your aura, you have your health, you have the skill cards that show here. Again, only three show at a time. The ones that show are a little RNG. I think um, keeping it so that at least a player has an option each turn for a move that doesn't require aura would be a great way to participate in this. So what is aura? Where is health? Where does this all come from? So just a quick pause over here to share. We have here what we have here is um, health that comes from sleeping. So when you run to the dungeon, um, it's persistent like you would have in any roguelike game, right? Meaning that from one encounter to the next encounter, your health starts to go down unless it's you come across some item or something that heals back up. And again, this comes from sleeping, so the night literally sleeping. So yes, the night before you sleep, it fills up the health bar. There are things I am thinking of that may allow you to. I believe Mikey V put this in the discussion, um, but uh, it was in regards to passively regenerating health or aura throughout the day. Um, so when we're talking about this, uh, I do want to give people the opportunity to recover health, but in a way that involves uh, consistency and building those healthy habits, right? So the more consistent I track my health or my sleep, the better outcome I will have. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. So when you're back in the village, just chilling by the flame, or not chilling by the flame, you're just on the home screen or just away from the app, your character will passively generate a little health back. And it will so that way you can participate longer or do another run. Ideally, again, I know this game is very interesting in its design, and that it's a game that we want you to play, but not play too much either. Um, we are trying to help. We know a lot of you have many different games you want to play. We want this to be a gamified way that you get healthier. We don't want you to spend hours and hours on this game, because then unless every single part of it is healthy, we try to be, but at the fundamental point, there are parts that, you know, that might take you away from responsibilities and things like that. So it's a very interesting line that we're walking here. So there's a couple ways that we do that. Um, and again, not we don't do any pay to win. So you won't be able to buy some potion that gets you, your health back. Health is earned, not bought. Um, so that's what we're trying to do here. Um, so uh, aura is used for aura is used for your like what we showed up here, right? It's like mana, man words. Um, so used for I guess I just stopped typing halfway through that sentence. Used for special attacks. Let's call it that. Special skills. So it's not always going to be attack. Um, One thing you'll notice, people who've been following us, is that this is specifically a combat encounter. We are keeping it very segregated now in terms of uh, I think it was too ambitious for us to try to intertwine directly into this combat screen the ability to charm a player or an NPC. The dialogue system, separate encounters will have the opportunity to charm, um, but that is where things will be included. Next, we have, and I'll get to these. We have two other inputs that come for. Um, wow, I just like didn't decide to use for rerolls and navigation. All right. Um, so what we have here is basically when you pick a skill, say we start by choosing rage as an example, right? So I select it, I use it, right? So it has 7 aura energy requirement. It depletes, takes 7 energy. My attack goes up to 20% for the next 3 turns. Slice is going to then just be the card that replaces it for it just when you use a skill, again, this is just my thinking. It sort of works like quote unquote a card system, but again, it's you only have 6 cards that are cycled through. So again, not complex, not overly complicated. You don't have to to make these intense decks or anything like that. It's a very simple system, and here is where the fun begins. So um, when I use that, there's a little strategy involved here, right? When I use that, it is replaced by another existing card. It could uh, for cards that have already been activated again. So something that is like Rage that is in rotation, right? It is there for the next 3 turns. It cannot be used. So that one is actually on cooldown, as an example. This is another one that would be on cooldown. There's a couple on cooldown. So again, there's probably needs to be some tweaking here, but the basic sense is when I use an attack skill or I use a skill, it is replaced by another skill for the next turn. So Slice replaces that. Then the enemy goes and they do something. They attack us. We take 10 damage, right? Now I choose another skill. I choose to use Pierce, right? So I select it, and I have my attack up. So I hit it for actually not 6 damage because it would be 10% is okay. So about 7 damage technically, 20% increase, right? It's about 10% is about, uh, 7, right? 0.6 is 10% of 6 times 2, 1.2 plus 6. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it'd be 7 damage because a Pierce does 6 damage. Okay. All right. So we attack the Undead Knight for 7 damage. Okay, so this goes back and forth, right? Um, the Undead Knight is defeated. It drops items, right? It drops an item. But the main core thing I want you guys to take away here, dice rolls are not here in this, in the combat. Dice rolls will now only be used specifically for encounters and dialogue. So like if I'm, all right, I know these are just like gibberish placeholders. Reddit, would you like a cookie? I love you. Um, that is how my mind works. Anyways, you would be able to, you would choose an option, you would roll it like you would in Baldur's Gate, and something would happen. The thing that was frustrating for our users here is that the dice system can be very tedious in that every turn that you roll, or you have to go back to check if you wanted to roll that. I was also thinking of keeping that here, but I also want to differentiate this specifically from dialogue encounters as well. Make them feel completely different as opposed to reuse the same system. So dice rolls, very simple. They work exactly the same way. You come across, say you're pushing a boulder, how much strength your character has. You have a specific modifier that goes into that improves the likelihood of success of those specific things, as well as some basic, so if I increase strength or power as an example as my power stat, it would increase the base damage, and then you would go through it and but also increase the likelihood of you succeeding in rolls in that require, or in events that require you to say like push a boulder. You roll the dice, you have a modifier of 2 or 3 depending on how much power you have, you'll do it. All right, so pretty cool, right? I think it's more streamlined, simple, understandable. You click what you want. You don't have to go back or click back because it's already has a description there. again, I think even for my taste, this is still too small text. I want this to be bigger, readable, easy to read for people. So, because yeah, this is roughly the distance most people are looking at stuff on their phone. I want this to be very easy to read. So, um, I think there could be some UI changes here because this is going to be important. Um, this is going to be important because, uh, and this is what I really like about roguelike games, is our focus here is now going to be on mechanically changing your skills, right? So I defeated the knight, right? So I fought the knight. And next thing I know is I have, got my item, and now I can choose a skill to upgrade. So right now these are passive skills, but in the instance, um, mechanically changing some of these as an example. So like maybe slice, uh, I choose a skill, upgrade for slice, or makes my slice attack now shoot lasers. I don't know. Because it shoots lasers, maybe uh, it requires more energy, but it can, or sorry, maybe that's not a good example. Every time there's a bonus special effect that it also shoots a laser. So every time I attack, maybe some laser fires or something. I'm not sure. Right now, my mental capacity isn't the highest. But essentially, mechanical changes to the way you play the game are different. When I get a card and a skill upgrade for it, I want to go away mostly from, modifiers just on numbers. That's what your base stats do from the equipment that you carry and your overall character stats. That's all defined by that. Um, what I want to focus on instead is changing the way you play the game so it feels truly different. So maybe there's a modifier for ice or something, and your character, when you attach it to your weapon, it freezes the NPC automatically when you do that specific attack. Um, or like maybe your pierce attack actually embeds thorns into um, into the the NPC, and now they will bleed, or not bleed, but they have a chance of being stunned on top of it or entangled for a turn. So that's a cool way we can add some status effects to some weapons, or sort of change the way they're doing it. I am still looking for ways and new ways that we can um, really change the mechanics. Again, mechanics is a weird concept in a take turn battle system, because mechanics usually uh, are foundational or really show up when it comes to play. Um, when it is uh, when you do it in your typical roguelike games like Hades, right? Like when your character has a skill that now is increases the range of your attack, right? So your range goes up dramatically. So maybe something along the lines of I can use my attack 2 times within the turn as opposed to once. Might be an example. Or I recover some aura or something. I'm not sure. But this needs to be thought out a little more. But that's the general goal that we're going for. And then what you see here, as a quick aside, is this new form of quote unquote currency, right? Just like we had aura as a quote unquote resource or currency, as an example, or, well, I don't know the proper term, but aura is essentially our mana, right? Mystic, it comes from mental health activities and is used to buy those skill upgrades during your run. Again, it resets at the end of each run. So your aura, your mystic, um, and your will are reset at the end of each run. So your mystic is used to purchase skills along the way, and upgrade those skills. If you run out of it, you know, some skills are going to be going to be increased, depending on how potent or powerful they are. Um, And that way you're kind of playing a little bit of it's a little bit of it's a little bit of strategy, a little bit of RNG there, right? Like how do I hoard my stuff up until the end, which is what most of us do, or do I use a little here and there on this, right? So that makes this a little more interesting. And then lastly, one thing I really liked about Hades is choosing the reward of the next room that you go to, right? Is it going to? I've even used the icons that they have here because, again, it's a very good system, very finely designed. Um, you go to the next room, so you can either change the options with the will that you have. And again, will comes from emotional health activities like journaling and these things. Um, so these uh, these so maybe I should write reset the at the end of the dungeon run. Health does not reset, or let's see. So one thing I want to get across is that you only really have to worry, and before a dungeon run, you only have to worry about one. This is a change up. So previously we had, if you wanted to play the game, you needed to not only have done sleep properly, but you also had to do your steps for today. What I'm considering as this alternative option is, and this is technically a very key component of combat and runs in general, is that when you go for when it's say you get defeated on your dungeon run, that is very common in roguelike games, right? You're not going to make it as far as you'd like in your first run, so you typically die. Um, we get you back to say 10% of your max health based on that run, and you passively generate health over time, or you sleep and play the next day, right? But for an example, with Aura and Mystic and Will, we might change that to rely more so on streaks. How consistent have you been doing step tracking, right? We're not looking at, did I walk 15,000 steps yesterday and now I'm walking 0 for the next 2 or 3 days, right? The whole purpose of this game is building healthy habits, not doing these big one-off events that don't get you healthy, right? You can't binging your health isn't effective. Um, it also is demoralizing and can make it hard. So habits beat everything time and time after again, and that's what we're about here. So maybe focusing this more on streaks to increase your overall limit, right? Now, not to say walking 15,000 steps is fantastic, right? That is great. Fully about that. We want you to do that. But that can come into play in the PvP mode. How much you actually do overall can come into the play in that mode. We don't want you to feel like you have to walk 15,000 steps every day, but you have the opportunity to do so if you're competing. Um, we want to be very careful also. What we set as the upper bound is people can injure themselves. So this is something we're also weighing as well. So that being said, so again, streaks are important. Streaks are everything. And that way, in this system, you don't have to do it you don't have to walk, say, 15,000 steps to generate your energy so you can go do it, right? Because some of these work at different times of the day. Example, you typically don't journal as the first thing you do in the day. You typically journal at the end of the day, or when you meditate, it might be somewhere in the middle. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. We want to do it using a streak system might simplify this because then it takes into account what you've done previously the day before or overall, or has like a baseline that you present. So all you need to worry about is your health before going into the dungeon run. um, and taking care of your sleep. And these other ones are coming from your mental, emotional, and physical health, or physical, mental, emotional, in the way I've written it at least. So, um, yes, that's what I'd like to leave you guys with. I know I went longer than I was expecting, probably rambled a lot. This is what we're focusing on here. The dice system, again, is so just to recap here, the dice aspect, for those of you who've been following the game development, is being removed from the combat, but kept in the encounter system, or like, not encounter, but like the dialogue and event system for more event rolls, things like that. Charming the enemy is no longer included in the combat because it is actually very difficult to work that into the overall gameplay, um, into the overall combat system, um, in a way. Yeah, it can be very difficult. So at least as far as what we have right now, maybe, I don't want to, and I want to keep this simple. And I think I cannot stress how keeping things simple makes this 100 times better and provides the opportunity for us to grow, in a very meaningful manner. So maybe there might be a way to employ it down the road, but as of now, I don't see at least something that I can employ in a meaningful manner that does this. But you can still charm your NPC, if charm NPCs that are capable of being charmed, in your regular encounters. So it'll just be a card system, not card system. It'll just be a dice rolling system. So um, recap. So uh, no dice rolls in combat. Description is here. Some require aura, some do not. Every time, and you pick the skills that you want before you go into it. Like it'd be like a loadout screen, and you unlock newer ones as you go to, or variations as you upgrade weapons and go to proceed to other dungeons. So new cards and shit. And apologies on the language. And you kind of go from there. All right. Thank you guys very much. As always, give me feedback. That's what we're here for. If you'd like to support us, kindly check out our Hero Trainer links. We are a fully voluntary team that creates content to get you healthy. We are a fully ethical company, in that we are not pay to win. We do not support predatory practices, and we're here to build an ecosystem of healthy gamers sustainably, so we don't end up as another shill company. So this is now the direction. This is not now the direction. This is the direction we've always been going. We've been around since 2019, and we'll get there, at a pace where we all make it, and that's how we know we will succeed. So thank you guys very much for your time. For those of you guys who watch, I appreciate you all. With the feedback that you provide, I read everything, even though I don't respond as always. I'm trying to get better at that, but I do read everything. So thank you very much. And again, this is capturing the feedback of what people have said overall in the Discord. I know one of the other ones that people talked about just last point before I go was an idle combat system being the preference when we did a poll. Now I really tried to come up with a system that used idle combat or something that's a little less, but it was very hard to do that without creating a meaningful system. So I'm sure there's a way to do it. I haven't found a way that ties in health, that isn't just turned fully into RNG. But there probably is a way to do this. I just don't know how. So, that's what we have our community for. You have the pieces here to see how you may actually converge these into an idle-based system. I might even make that a creator challenge. Here's what we have. What would this look like if you converted it into an idle-based system? This is just the one I've come up with. This is more card based, but not fully card based, right? You don't have like 150, 50 cards, 30 cards, whatever. You only care about 6 cards. Maybe we'll do say 7 or something because seven's a cool number, or 9. Nine's awesome as well. But yeah, thank you guys. I'm probably gonna take a nap. Um, so stay hero. Love you all. Happy Hump Day. This is a big week overall. Um, I'll tell you, this is a big week overall. So, uh, yeah, stay hero, guys.